Good evening. Tonight, I bring you a moment from the Senate floor that left viewers stunned. Senator Amy Klobuchar pressed Kash Patel so sharply, the room went silent. This is the uncut version, what she asked, how he responded, and what it meant. The scene was set at a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. Cameras lined every wall. Reporters sat upright, notepads ready. The senators had questions long prepared. But none expected the moment they would catch Patel off guard. Klobuchar stood and addressed him directly. Mr. Patel, earlier you described accusations against you as grotesque mischaracterizations. Yet your public statements include claims that various federal agents acted corruptly. On what basis, sir, do you continue to make such allegations without verification? Her voice was firm, measured, not shouting, but unmistakably demanding. The room leaned in. Patel's eyes flickered. He glanced at his notes. The tension grew. Senator, he began, I've been consistent. Klobuchar cut him off. Consistent? With accusations that damage reputations? If you don't have clear evidence, why continue repeating them? Patel's jaw tightened. Because context matters. Those statements are being taken out of context. I never said. Again, Klobuchar interrupted. Then show us the full context. Release the communications. Submit the documents. Or stop repeating charges that you can't back. Her challenge rang through the chamber. Officials behind her stirred. Reporters' pens paused mid-strike. Patel swallowed. His voice shifted. Senator, I intend to provide the full record. But the public has a right to know what's already in the public sphere. Klobuchar nodded slowly. The public deserves the truth, Mr. Patel, not partial statements and selective revelations. She paused just long enough to let silence press. She leaned slightly forward. If you cannot produce that full record within 48 hours, how do we maintain confidence in your claims or in your fitness for office? The room was speechless. No applause. No interruption. Just wait. Kash Patel's face betrayed his struggle. He looked to aides. He glanced at his binder. Senator, I will comply with that timeline. Klobuchar gave a curt nod, turned on her heel, and resumed her seat. The gavel struck. The hearing continued, but the spirit had changed. That exchange didn't just expose weaknesses in Patel's narrative. It showed what accountability looks like when held by a steady hand. If you value honest hearings and public service grounded in fact, not noise, subscribe. Because the biggest moments often happen when power is forced to answer simple questions. The Senate Judiciary hearing began at 9 a.m. sharp. The room was old marble and brass, microphones gleaming under harsh white lights. Every seat along the dais was filled. Behind the witness table sat Kash Patel, former National Security Advisor. Confident posture, crisp suit, no expression. The gavel struck once. Senator Amy Klobuchar leaned forward, papers neatly aligned. Her reading glasses balanced halfway down her nose. She had the look of someone who'd spent the night studying transcripts rather than rehearsing headlines. Her opening tone was even courteous. Mr. Patel, you've appeared before this committee several times. Today, we're interested in facts, not speculation, not summaries from podcasts or press releases. Facts. The witness nodded. Yes, Senator. For a brief moment, the exchange sounded routine. But the atmosphere shifted with her next line. You've made repeated claims that senior agents in federal law enforcement acted with political intent. Those are serious allegations. I'd like you to name, for the record, one agent you can prove acted unlawfully. The pause stretched. Patel glanced toward his counsel, then back to the microphone. Senator, I provided documentation. Klobuchar interrupted, still calm. Documentation or speculation, Mr. Patel? There's a difference. A low murmur rippled through the press gallery. Patel straightened his papers. The evidence I'm referring to was outlined in declassified memos. Declassified by whom? She asked. He hesitated. By the previous administration. Klobuchar's tone sharpened, not louder, just firmer. And authenticated by whom? Silence. A camera clicked in the back of the room. Someone cleared their throat. Senator, Patel said finally, I believe those documents speak for themselves. Klobuchar leaned back slightly. No, Mr. Patel. Documents don't speak. People do. And when those documents turn out incomplete, someone bears responsibility for how they were presented to the public. That's why you're here. The room fell quiet. Even the shuffle of papers ceased. She lifted one sheet from her folder, a printed statement Patel had given a network 2 months earlier. You told the press, quote, I have irrefutable proof that elements inside the Bureau conspired to mislead the American public. End quote. We've reviewed every submission you've provided. None contain that proof. So I'll ask again, where is it? Patel shifted in his seat. Senator, I was referring to information still under review. Then you shouldn't have called it irrefutable. Her voice cut through the air like the snap of a file closing. For nearly 10 seconds, no one spoke. Cameras zoomed tighter. Patel blinked, swallowed, and tried to regroup. Senator, I believe the American people have a right to transparency. Klobuchar nodded. So do I. That's why we verify before we broadcast. That's why we ask witnesses to separate belief from evidence. Transparency without truth is chaos, Mr. Patel. And this chamber was built to prevent exactly that. You could feel the old marble hold its breath. Patel tried once more. With respect, Senator, my intent was never to mislead. Intent, she replied, doesn't erase impact. The gavel struck once to restore order. But there was no noise left to tame. When the hearing adjourned, reporters didn't chase sound bites, they whispered. Veteran correspondents said it felt like a throwback, the kind of questioning that belonged to an older Washington, when senators let silence do the talking. By evening, the clip aired on every major network. It wasn't the volume that drew attention. It was the stillness after Klobuchar's final question. Viewers recognized it instantly, that moment when certainty runs out of runway. Across the country, older Americans tuned in over dinner. Many had seen decades of hearings, but they hadn't seen one so measured in years. Calls flooded into public radio shows the next morning. A retired prosecutor from Illinois summed it up best. She didn't grandstand. She didn't scold. She just reminded him that truth still answers to evidence. That used to be how Washington worked. Editorial boards agreed. The Minneapolis Tribune called it a return to grown-up politics. The Chicago Sun-Times wrote, Senator Klobuchar delivered a civics lesson disguised as a question. Even commentators, who rarely shared her politics, conceded the same point. Kash Patel had been caught in the oldest trap of all, overconfidence in front of someone who still believed in procedure. The next day, Patel's office released a brief statement. Mr. Patel respects the committee's oversight process and will provide supplemental documentation as requested. But the narrative was already written. What viewers remembered wasn't paperwork. It was the image of a composed senator pressing a restless witness until the noise collapsed under its own weight. For those who watched in living rooms and veterans' halls across the country, it felt familiar. The discipline of an older America, where restraint was strength and words carried consequence. If you believe hearings like this still matter, where questions are grounded in fact and leaders are held to account, stay with us. Subscribe to this channel for full-length transcripts, verified hearings, and calm, factual reporting made for people who care about truth more than spectacle. Because accountability doesn't shout. It asks one good question and waits for the answer.